Every day across the planet, millions of people are recording incredible moments from the extraordinary world we live in and sharing them instantly around the globe.
As he struck the car exploded. I wasn't going to let her die.
But we're digging deeper into these viral videos, meeting the people who've captured the most spectacular and dramatic moments.
It took me 2 seconds to understand that something really, really bad was happening.
To get to the story behind the clip. From death-defying escapes...
It had swirled around like a big tornado, and we were right in the middle of it.
And incredible rescues.
All I could think of was that I needed to jump in the water and save him.
To heartwarming surprises.
At that moment, my heart just stopped.
And jaw-dropping acts of nature.
It was like a horror movie.
These are the moments you'd never believe if they weren't caught on camera. Coming up, a near-death Arctic experience.
All of a sudden, I looked up and I saw the iceberg toppling over on top of us.
2 lifelong friends become a whale's lunch.
I slipped right into the mouth, out of the kayak.
And a violinist plays for her life.
They put me in a scanner, and yeah, they said there's something in the head which was not supposed to be there.
But first, we're taking to the skies. Extreme sports are all the rage these days. From free climbing to off-piste skiing. And it doesn't get more extreme than this. Just look as these 2 French daredevils jump off a mountain in Switzerland, stretch out their wingsuits and fly into a plane.
Go for it, go for it. Okay, we've got one. Yes! Yes!
The more extreme the sport, the more extreme the risk. As 2 skydivers in Texas found out at 10,000 feet above ground.
I'm Ben Pigeon, and I'm from Fort Worth, Texas.
My name is Andy Locke, and I live in Tucson, Arizona. First time I went skydiving, I knew I was hooked, and I had to keep jumping.
It's a complete, undescribable, wonderful feeling, and I think everybody should do it once.
Skydiving is incredibly safe when you do it properly. Skydiving is incredibly dangerous when you do it improperly.
Experienced amateur Ben had signed up for an advanced skydiving camp an hour north of Dallas. Andy Locke was the professional, flying in especially to teach it.
Throughout the weekend, we were primarily doing tracking dives. A traditional skydive, you're normally falling belly to earth, straight down. We were working on moving across the sky. The last jump of the day, one of the participants said, hey, let's go vertical. So we go head down, and then move, stop, move, stop. We had done one of those dives earlier in the weekend and went off without a hitch. So I said, okay, let's give it a go.
It's such a long weekend. This was the last jump. The plane was about to be turned off unless we had so many people to get on the plane to make it worth going up to altitude. I got encouraged to get onto this load, and the biggest danger of the entire thing is we were all exhausted.
Once Ben, Andy, and the 2 other skydivers had reached 13,000 feet in the air, they were good to go.
When it got time to open the door and climb out, I could already tell that there was some confusion. The guys kind of forgot their location in the door. So as I pointed, you go there, you go there, you go there. We climbed out, everything seemed normal. Everyone was excited and happy. Ready, set, go. Shortly after the exit, one of the participants went a little bit off level. It was at that moment that we were going to let go of our handholds and we were gonna fly in one direction.
But this guy, he couldn't fly head down and he lost the group. He was trying to catch up to us at point B, and obviously kind of overshot it.
That's when I realized he was approaching at quite a high rate of speed. You could see as he looks at me, he realizes, uh-oh, I'm going too fast.
The out-of-control skydiver whizzes past Andy and heads straight towards Ben at over 200 miles an hour.
You can see that Ben was very fixated on me, the leader, and didn't quite see the other flyer approaching him to his left.
He was just basically a meat missile, and his femur hit my head, and it didn't work out very well for me.
Ben has been knocked unconscious at 10,000 feet. He's out cold, plunging to Earth. With Andy over 500 feet away, it's a race against time and altitude.
I see Ben spinning like a top on his back, so I did everything I could to slow my fall rate, as well as navigate forward towards him. Once I got to him, he was spinning pretty unconsciously. I did what we call spin stop, just stop the spin. And when I looked at him, his left eye was already completely swollen shut. His helmet visor was blasted open. Nobody was home.
The video doesn't really do justice how far away I was from Andy. For Andy to catch me like that, he's one of the best skydivers in the world.
So the sooner I can give him a parachute, the better.
It's only been a matter of seconds since the impact, but Ben and the skydivers have already dropped 2,000 feet.
We were probably going around 160 or so miles an hour vertically.
He had 15 more seconds, or we would have been in a really bad situation.
Any mistakes now could be extremely costly.
There are two handles, one right here and one right here. If you pull this handle, that disconnects the main parachute, which wouldn't do him any good. If you pull this handle, that immediately deploys his reserve parachute. So I was very sure to make sure I was not just disconnecting his parachute, and I was actually giving him one.
Andy manages to activate Ben's parachute at 8,000 feet. Out cold, Ben has no idea any of this is going on. There's just enough time for Andy to activate his own parachute.
Got down to the ground real fast, came flying up next to a picnic table and immediately said, call 911.
Call 911! Dude got unconscious, I had to pull his reserve.
They had no idea what I was talking about, and I said, call 911. He is unconscious under his reserve parachute. Once you see Ben coming in for his landing, he lands and then just fell over like a sack of potatoes.
Ben is rushed straight to hospital by paramedics. He's severely concussed.
It's just this weird feeling like, because you don't know what happened. What happened to me to get from point A to point B? Like, how am I standing here? And I've lost memory of the entire weekend. I have absolutely no clue. I mean, I was concussed that I was out of it. I can't applaud Andy enough for actually getting to me and saving my life, so it's pretty fantastic. Here am I spinning around. He has absolutely no idea if I'm gonna spin around and hit him in the head and knock him out. So is it extremely difficult? Absolutely, and it was extremely dangerous too.
We'll never really know if I truly saved his life. Maybe he would have woken up and deployed his own parachute, but what I definitely did was increase the likelihood of him minimizing any injury and or death.
Yeah, it looks like something out of a movie. I mean, literally, Andy coming to save me, he's like straight up James Bond. He's a sky ninja. It was absolutely crazy.
Initially, Ben couldn't bring himself to tell his family what happened that eventful day.
I had hidden the video from my friends and family for, gosh, over 3 years, but I'd always felt guilty for doing that because it's such a great learning experience for other novice skydivers. So I just said, let's see how many likes I get.
Then I woke up to a bunch of text messages on my phone of some friends saying, hey man, your video is online and it's blowing up. And then for the next couple of months, everyone I would run into was like, oh, I saw your video, and on all these different websites. There were comments from all languages, all walks of life. It seemed like that video kind of spread pretty quick all over the world.
Now I play a lot of tennis. It's much safer than skydiving.
Coming up, the two kayakers caught in the jaws of an over-hungry humpback.
I slipped right into the mouth, out of the kayak.
And a lorry driver's heroic life-or-death rescue.
The petrol tank exploded, flames everywhere, but I wasn't going to let her die.
Through the ages, people have been drawn to water. We love the sound of it, the sight of it, the feel of it. And most of all, we like to play in it. But as well as all these things, water can be incredibly dangerous. Here in Florida, beachgoers have formed a human chain to save a woman struggling in the rough surf. After a tense few minutes, she's back on dry land, much to everyone's relief. In Amsterdam, these skaters have fallen through thin ice on this canal. Bystanders use ropes, golf clubs and hockey sticks to help rescue them from the shockingly cold water as they struggle to escape in their heavy winter clothes. Thankfully, everyone made it out safely. And now to California, where one woman dragged her reluctant best friend into a day out on the ocean she'd never forget.
I'm Julie McSorley. I live in San Luis Obispo, California.
My name is Elizabeth Cottrell. I've known Julie for about 30 years. She's a lot more adventurous than I am, so she gets me out of my comfort zone.
Julie and Liz live close to the beautiful Avila Beach, a prime coastal location for water sports and whale watching.
I had heard that there were whales out in the bay. The whales come here to Avila every 2 to 5 years. Liz had been staying with us, and I told her, you need to go with me tomorrow morning. And at first she said no.
I don't like going into the ocean because I can't see what's in it, and I don't know what's at the bottom. I am not a good swimmer. Plus, I always had a fear of the tide, pulling me under.
After some gentle persuasion, a reluctant Liz finally agrees to go, putting her safety in the hands of her friend.
We didn't see anything right away, so I had a little bit of time to get comfortable in the kayak. And then it was just majestic. It was so many whales out there, I couldn't believe it. And I'd never seen something like that in my entire life.
We would see the whales lunge feeding quite a distance from where we were. And we were following these two whales. We'd sit at the place that they had just went down, and we'd watch for them to come up and then see them again. And so we had been doing that for about an hour, hour and a half even. All of a sudden, fish were popping out of the water all around the boat.
A sign that whales are extremely close.
The whale came straight out of the water. I'm in the front, and I just turn, and I put my hand out like I'm going to ward off a whale. That's how close I was.
As the whale's gigantic jaw clamps down on the kayak, astounded onlookers are filming the extraordinary sight.
I'm looking right into what was the upper jaw. I didn't know it at the time. But I felt it was going to come down on me. So my first thought was, I'm going to get crushed. Didn't know anything about the lower jaw being as huge as it was, that we were sitting right in it. No. So when the top jaw comes down, that's when the kayak kind of rolled. I slipped right into the mouth, out of the kayak.
I didn't know that I was in the mouth of the whale. I just knew I was in the water, and I had to get air. It just felt like it was tumbling in a wave.
I actually thought, this is it. Now I'm going to drown.
my arm, and the kayak paddle was out of the whale's mouth as it went into the water, so the mouth came down. My biggest fear was the whale's gonna pull us under the water too deep and we won't be able to breathe.
No. I was struggling to get to the top, and I kept looking up to try to see the light.
I was tumbling around, and then we had our life jackets on, thank goodness. So all of a sudden, I popped up. I was so relieved. And then my next thought was, where's Liz? And I looked around, and just within a second, she popped up right next to me. I could have reached out and touched her. This gentleman came over, and he asked us if we were okay, and he explained that he was a retired firefighter and that he had watched the incident, and the first thing he asked us was, do you have all your limbs?
Can you see, like, all pieces and parts?
Yeah, we're all good.
And we had to check and look to make sure we had all our limbs. And he saw Liz, and she was rather white, and he said to her, be careful, you look like you're going into shock. Take it real easy, paddling in.
This jaw-dropping escape from the mouth of a whale left everyone who witnessed it frozen to the spot. But somehow, the dazed and confused friends managed to paddle back to shore.
I'm trying to dry off, and I pulled my shirt out like this, and I didn't know it, but a bunch of fish dropped out of my shirt onto the ground, and Julie looks down and says, oh my God, look at the fish on the ground. And so she's just cracking up.
I just started laughing hysterically, and that kind of took the tension off of the whole situation.
I still had fish stuck on my skin when I got home.
By the time they got home, Liz and Julie's close encounter with the whale had already gone viral.
When we watched the footage, when we got back, I was mesmerized by what I was looking at. I just can't believe how that looks with just the jaw coming right down on top of us.
I can actually see my body slide right into the whale's mouth as it goes underneath. And then I went back and analyzed the video that we had around our neck and went frame by frame and could see the baleen of the whale, the fish in the whale's mouth, the white of the inside of the whale. And that's when I realized, boy, it was much closer of a call than I initially thought.
With over 1 billion cars across the world, roads can be dangerous and unpredictable places. When something goes wrong, often there's almost no time to react. This dashcam from Vietnam captured the moment an out-of-control truck hurtles towards a mother and her young baby. In an instant, the woman runs for safety from the 44-ton truck. Thankfully, the mother and baby escaped unharmed. The truck driver also survived. In Wisconsin, a traffic camera caught a pickup truck hitting a snow pile and plunging 70 feet to the road below. Miraculously, the vehicle landed on its tires, and those inside escaped with only minor injuries. Someone who knows the danger of our roads all too well is lorry driver John Rastrick.
I'm a HGV Class 1 driver. I've been driving trucks for the best part of 35 years.
John's definitely put the miles in that time, most of them uneventful. But on this January night on the M1 near Leicester, his dashcam captured a dramatic incident he would never forget.
It was winter time. It was about -2 or 3. It was wet and it was cold, obviously dark. I noticed all the traffic was backing up. The brake lights were coming on, so I slowed right down.
But not all the drivers on the carriageway are doing the same.
I noticed an Audi coming up on my right-hand side in the fast lane, and he obviously wasn't aware of the situation in front of him, so he struck the car in front. Must have been the corner where the fuel tank was. As he struck the car exploded and then spun and ended up in lane 2.
John's truck is less than 300 yards from the ferociously burning car, and the driver, a young woman, is trapped inside.
I thought, there's no way whoever's in the car is going to get out of that car. I know I had to get there ASAP. Out I went, knowing full well that I only had literally seconds before the whole thing went up. When I opened the door, put my head inside, and I looked around and went, oh my goodness. back seat completely gone. All the ceiling was alight, the dashboard was alight, the back of the chair that the young lady was in, that was alight. It was just a big fireball. And then things started popping and glass and started to explode. Instinct took over. I wasn't going to let her die.
John, standing in freezing temperatures on a busy motorway in the dead of night, is in a race against time to save the trapped woman's life and his own.
She was in the fetal position, so her knees was tucked underneath her chin. So I did have to drag her out to the footwell, and I said to her, "You coming with me, darling?" You get strength from nowhere, you know, because you know it's got to be done. So she came out okay, and then once she was on the floor, one or two people turned up, and we carried her a bit further up the motorway, out of harm's way. And about 15 seconds later, the whole thing had gone.
With the emergency services now on the way, John and his fellow motorists tried to make the critically injured woman as comfortable as possible.
She was laid on the cold tarmac, so I went back to my truck and I got the mattress out, I put it underneath her, and I got the quilt out and I put it round her.
With the driver now in the care of paramedics, John returns to the cab of his truck, where a police officer has this to say.
How brave you were, you know, I take my hand off to you because that was incredible.
But it was only after the dramatic rescue that John was able to absorb the gravity of what he did that night.
I did have a good weep. It must have been adrenaline. And I'm thinking, oh, thank the Lord for that. You know, doesn't bear thinking about, does it? Because she would have been dead. She's alive.
Yes.
I felt relief that we got her out. I felt relief that she hadn't been burnt. I felt relief that I'd been burnt.
While the unconscious casualty was rushed away for emergency surgery, the police were left with the job of trying to identify who she was.
The only part of the car that hadn't burnt was the number plate on the front of the car, and that's how they traced the parents. So,
The woman in the car was 29-year-old Parry Mystery. She'd been on the way to meet her husband for dinner when this tragic incident changed her life forever.
You can't imagine the police turning up at the doorstep and explaining where your daughter is. You can't. Your daughter's in intensive care. She's gone through a major operation.
Parry spent 4 days in a critical care unit with a skull fracture. She underwent an 8-hour operation and had to learn to walk and talk again.
I got a call from the police, and the officer said, "Oh, she's in hospital and she's doing fine now. And do you mind passing your details on to the family?" I said, "No, not a problem." It was a husband that rang me, and then she was in the background, and she's going, "Thank you, thank you, thank you," like that, because I didn't know she couldn't talk properly, because she's still learning to talk. And I had to stop me and the wife in the car, and we were in bits, you know.
John got to meet Parry months later, when she helped to present him with a bravery award for saving her life.
He just, without even thinking, ran out and just saved my life.
John's been called a hero for his actions that night, but he's having none of it.
I'm no hero. I'm absolutely no hero whatsoever. There's only one hero, and that's Parry. What she's gone through for the last 3 years is incredible, absolutely incredible. She had to learn to walk, had to learn to talk, you know, and she suffers from anxiety now, and, you know, she's the hero in all this, absolutely.
Spoken like a true hero. Coming up, when icebergs attack.
All of a sudden, I looked up and I saw the iceberg toppling over on top of us. If the iceberg falls on me, I'll be crushed.
When pushing yourself to your absolute limits, it's always useful if someone's got your back. Like when these two brothers were skiing in the Swiss mountains. What starts off as an exhilarating day out with friends quickly becomes a race for survival when one is caught in an avalanche. His brother frantically calls for help as he uses a tracking device to find his sibling.
Je te promets, je te le promets, mec, on est là. J'ai un 7.
Location pinpointed, they begin digging.
Lec, tu m'entends? Calme-toi. Tu parles pas, Lec. Okay. Lec, tu restes calme. Reste calme, Lec.
After a few frantic moments, they find him. He's unconscious, but thankfully soon comes round, much to his brother's relief. For some explorers, near-death experiences are all part of the day job.
My name is Mike Horn, and I've been a professional explorer for just over 30 years. I started with a 5,000-mile swim down the Amazon. I did a circumnavigation of the Arctic Circle. After that, I decided to go and climb the high peaks of the world. Became the first person to cross Antarctica entirely on my own resources. And I've sailed 27 times around the world. When we head out to do any adventure, we head out into the unknown.
But there was one particular expedition that was a little more low-key than usual. South African-born Mike and his climbing partner Fred decided to take their families on a boat trip to the Arctic.
So it was the perfect day. Beautiful blue skies, sailing through a lot of pack ice. The setting was perfect.
So far, it's shaping up to be the trip of a lifetime for everyone on board the boat. Until Mike gets an idea.
Speaking to Fred, my climbing partner, we spotted one or two little icebergs. And we said, wow, it would be amazing to go out there and climb them. And straight away he said, okay, let's get ready and climb this iceberg.
Iceberg.
We saw that this iceberg was floating, but was quite stable. We pushed the bow of the boat against the iceberg so that Fred and myself could get on. Crampons well planted into the iceberg, one ice axe firmly planted into the ice, and then we asked the boat to move backwards to be able to give us space. That's when everything went pear-shaped.
No!
The backwash of the propellers pushed the bottom of the iceberg. It was Fred's son on the boat that started shouting, Mike, 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 the iceberg's turning. All of a sudden, I looked up and I saw the iceberg toppling over on top of us. If the iceberg falls on me, I'll be crushed. As I saw Fred climbing to the side, I straight away felt that he had a chance of escaping. But where I was placed in the middle, I thought that I was done. I knew that I had to take a big breath before I go underneath, because I didn't know for how long I was going to stay underneath the water. The volume of the water luckily pushed me to the left-hand side, and I managed to get my head out, and the iceberg, I felt it just pass my head. That is when the real problem starts.
The iceberg may have missed them by inches, but it's not over yet.
With crampons on your feet, your climbing boots filling up with water, ice axes in your hand, your clothing becomes soaked up with water, and now you're sinking. Now you're trying everything to keep your head above water.
The passengers on the boat, including the climbers' children, need to act fast.
I knew that the boat was too far to get to with our clothes soaked up in water, and that the only thing we must do now is stay where we are to conserve energy and to keep our heads above water.
Help arrives just in time. Mike and Fred, shocked but still smiling after being submerged in icy waters, have miraculously survived unscathed.
What happened to us made me straight away think, how stupid can I be to climb an iceberg? What made the situation a little bit worse was that Fred had his 2 sons on board the boat that saw the iceberg topple over onto our heads.
Mike swallowed his pride and decided to post the video of what happened that day as a warning to other thrill-seekers.
I thought that it would be an ideal situation to be able to educate the climbing community, to be able to learn from our mistakes.
The video's been viewed millions of times, captivating audiences around the world.
The iceberg video had a great success, obviously, because there's a little bit of disaster with a happy outcome.
Coming up, a car salesman is taken on a terrifying ride for survival.
It's a fast car, so he picked up to like 100, 120 within seconds. Somebody was literally trying to kill me.
And brain surgery, with a musical twist.
You have the risks because the smallest mishap during surgery can have catastrophic consequences.
Police in Nottinghamshire have managed to corner this banned driver. So he decides to smash his way out, and the innocent van driver is lucky to escape with just minor injuries, even if the same can't be said for his door. And watch as this driver in China reverses, knocking down and dragging the elderly woman behind him. And the most terrifying part? He didn't even realize until police showed him the surveillance footage later. Thankfully, the woman suffered only minor cuts and scratches. Over in Ontario, Canada, Mo Alkassi is lucky to be alive after his own life-threatening experience that began at his family's car dealership.
It was a sunny day, just like today. One guy called me, and he was looking at viewing one of the vehicles that I had. It was a pretty rare car. It was a 2018 BMW M4 competition, so it wasn't a car that you see, every day. It's a pretty expensive vehicle. He said he wanted to see the car. He was serious about it, and he was on his way from Toronto.
Toronto is a 2-hour drive away from Mo's dealership, meaning the potential buyer would arrive after closing time, when there's no one around. Mo agreed to wait.
Around 6:45-ish, a silver car pulls in, and he gets out of the car, and I kind of show him the vehicle from there. He looked actually like a pretty respectful customer. He knew what he was talking about. He knew everything about the car.
This is when Mo's day is about to go from good to very, very bad.
The key was always with me, it was always in my pocket. He asked me to start it. The vehicle is a push to start, so once you actually start it, it will stay running, even if the key is not in the vehicle. He had a seat in the driver's side, and I had the door open on the passenger side. And then he just asked me to make a phone call, which is a normal request because it's such a big purchase. So I closed the passenger door, and I kind of just hovered in front of the vehicle. Around 10-15 seconds later, he put it in drive. He kind of just floored the gas pedal.
The car thief drives directly at Mo, hitting and pinning him to the bonnet of the car. Mo desperately clinging on as they hurtle out onto the busy main road.
It's a fast car, so he picked up to like 100, 120 within seconds. On a very busy street with traffic coming in and out, I was just holding on for dear life, essentially. You know, I couldn't let go.
But the car thief doesn't plan on slowing down or stopping. He's determined to make his getaway, whatever the cost.
He was swerving left and right to try to shake me off. At one point, he even tried to hit me with an electrical pole. That was the scariest moment for me. I mean, somebody was literally trying to kill me, or at least hurt me, and not enough to fall off the car so that they can get away.
As Mo slides further down the bonnet, his feet are getting dragged along the road.
Because I was looking at him in the face, and he was looking to the side, just trying to look over me while I was on the hood, and there was just no facial reaction. It was just kind of scary to see, like, no regard at all for life.
It's at this point Mo realizes he'll have to take matters into his own hands.
He was taking a right to get to the highway, and then that's when I realized this is the time that I have to let go, because Highbury is a very, very long road. It's very open. If he went that fast on Oxford, I'm sure he's gonna go a lot faster on the other road. So once he started to slow down, I decided to let go and fall. It was just a fight or flight moment for me. When I got up, I was just very disoriented. I was trying to get to the sidewalk, and then I see this car speeding up, and I didn't realize it was the guy that was with him until afterwards.
Wait, what? Yes, the thief has a hidden accomplice, seen here following the stolen car out of the dealership.
So I was just telling the car to kind of stop, because I'm trying to get to the sidewalk, and he actually hit me with the side mirror on my shoulder, because he was just trying to get away and get through as well.
Mo manages to get himself to the pavement, but he's badly injured.
Had a lot of cuts on my feet because my feet got dragged and they were bloodied up. Along with my knee, that's where he originally hit me, on my right knee. I actually had a little bit of internal bleeding there, so I just kind of had to stay home and rest up and wait for everything to heal.
It took over a month for Mo to recover from his injuries. He decided to use that time to try and track down the stolen car, and that's when his story went viral.
We gave the cops a couple of days to see what was going on. They lost the signal, nothing happened, and we wanted just to get the word out there as soon as possible. We just decided to upload it online on our Facebook page, and then from there it kind of spread like wildfire, and it just kind of went worldwide.
While the thieves may have got away with the car, Mo feels like he's the one that got lucky that afternoon.
There were so many different ways that this could have ended so much worse, but the fact that it ended up the way it did, I'm just so lucky to be here today.
Now, in the world of live music, it seems, for some musicians at least, there ain't no mountain high enough or valley low enough when it comes to sharing their talent with the world. Italian musician Elisa Tomellini set a world record for the highest ever classical music concert after playing the piano on top of a mountain in the Alps. The pianist had to climb the Monte Rosa mountain on foot, while her grand piano was flown in by helicopter. Canadian astronaut and David Bowie fan Chris Hadfield took live music out of this world by playing Space Oddity on his guitar all the way from the International Space Station.
This is ground control to Major Tom.
But for violinist Dagmar Turner from the Isle of Wight, there's one place she never could have envisaged playing. Yet it became a performance that helped to save her life.
It was July in 2013. I got my violin and went off to the Isle of Wight Symphony Orchestra rehearsal. And then we were starting to play Mendelssohn Overture, and then something went funny. And I woke up on the floor.
Dagmar was rushed to the local hospital, where she received some devastating news.
They put me in a scanner, and they said there's something in the head which was not supposed to be there.
Dagmar was diagnosed with a large tumor in the right frontal part of her brain, the exact place that controls hand movement and coordination. crucial functions for a violinist. It was initially treated with radiotherapy, but then the tumor began to grow back, bigger and faster.
You think like, shit. Because I know from lots of other people with similar conditions, when they start having changes, then things get really bad.
Despite the serious risks, surgery was the only option. And that's when Dagmar turned to surgeon Professor Ashkan, himself a talented musician, for help.
She told me, if you cannot remove the tumor without me losing the ability to continue my love for music, then I'd rather not have the tumor removed. So essentially, she would rather not live.
So Dagmar came up with an unusual and radical idea. She wanted to play the violin while undergoing brain surgery to avoid damaging her all-important musical talent.
Playing the violin during the surgery would give me the opportunity, but also the surgeon, to see all the areas in the brain being activated and avoid to butcher them out, so that I could just play again after surgery. People said to me, what are you going to play? The only thing I knew I could play by heart was Summertime from Gershwin, yeah. But on the day I was getting very sort of nervous, like, have I actually thought about everything?
The smallest mishap during surgery can have catastrophic consequences. In Dagmar's particular case, obviously, the stakes were even higher.
On the day of the surgery, Dagmar is put under general anesthetic, while a team of 15 surgeons, nurses, anaesthetists and therapists work together to remove the back of her skull. Eventually, they reach the most critical part of the operation, the removal of the tumour. When the time came to wake Dagmar, it was a complete unknown how she would react. Will she play, or will she panic?
Oh, I hated it. There's somebody coming to me and said, Dagmar, wake up, play your violin now. Now I'm just like, go away, let me sleep. I could hear lots of industrial sounds, like machines going like zhing, 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 zhing. I could hear people discussing if they needed another blood transfusion from me, and I was panicking then, oh my God. And I thought, okay, maybe I should wake up, because the best surgeons in the UK is standing at my head to make my life better.
You're gonna hold it, are you? Oh, right, okay.
You have to be calm, because if they feel you're panicking, they're going to panic, and that's not going to help anybody. So you've got to be able to be completely calm regardless of what's going on around you.
It's so helpful, and it's going to help the surgeons do a really good job for you. If you're able to bear with us and keep playing to distract yourself, that would be fantastic.
It was quite hard, because they always said, Dagmar, play louder. I was so tired. I just wanted to close the eyes and play some kind of nonsense. And the cold air, the noise, I didn't like any of that. The bright lights as well. You get very sort of sensitive to that when your brain gets exposed, I suppose.
The next few incisions Professor Ashkan makes will affect the quality of Dagmar's life forever. She now needs to give the performance of her life.
Another section, if you can play for us, so we can mark the area, okay? Beautiful.
It's absolutely important that you ensure what the boundaries are between important parts of the brain and the tumor, because as you remove tumor, brain shifts. It needs to be a continuous process, because once you remove that part of the brain that you shouldn't, then there is no going back on that.
I had no idea how long I was playing. I mean, I thought it was just really short, like 20 minutes. Somebody told me it was 2 hours. And I said, I cannot possibly play Gershwin for 2 hours. I mean, sorry.
Like, everything is looking really good. Yeah, turn around.
All I sort of remember towards the end of the operation, somebody pushed himself up behind my head and then said to me, Dagmar, we just taken out 95% of your tumor. And I thought, gosh, that's good. That's more than I thought.
She was playing violin 3 weeks after surgery. It was great. She went home for 3 or 4 days after surgery, and a couple of weeks later, she was playing violin.
It was possible. It was amazing. I didn't expect it. I took the violin and I was playing Wagner. And I was like, wow. 10 days after surgery, I went back to orchestra. And then almost my conductor fell over, like, what are you doing here? Like, go back home, rest. I said, no, it's boring at home. I want to be here.
Dagmar now has scans every 3 to 4 months to make sure the tumour hasn't come back. And it wasn't long before both her and Professor Ashkan's very different operating theatre performances went viral.
I was very surprised when I saw the reaction to the video. The USA, down to Russia, to Mongolia, Australia, South Africa, Nigeria, all around the world, which is quite amazing, really.
25 years is a long time to wait for justice, but some things are worth waiting for. The concluding part of Undeniable is tomorrow night at 9. And our next big boss goes undercover and gets a rather big shock in the last in the series here on ITV, Thursday night at 9. Next tonight, though, it's the news at 10.